Well, hi there. This is another in the series of Business Clarity, helping you take your business to the next level series. And this one, we're going to talk about, there's a typical coaching client. And this will give you a little bit of an idea of what we do when we meet clients and we sit down and we have a bit of a yarn. So we've been doing this for a few years, and what we do, we just grab a little old beastie like this, which is quite familiar to all of you, I'm sure. It's an IKEA metre-long tape. And we sit down with them and we say, okay, let's think about this as your life, which is a pretty good way to frame things. And we say, okay, so in your family, because ask the really difficult question first up, how long live the people? Like what's the average person of your sex? How long do they live? And I know in my family, barring electrocution and gunshot and those sorts of things, most of my family live a very, very long life. So I think, let's take 95 as being a pretty good example of how long they'll live. So we snip off the end there at 95. And because we're talking about typical clients and not an old bloke like me, our typical client that comes in will come and see us when they're about 45. They've worked pretty hard. They've put a lot of effort into their business, and they've learnt their trade really well, but they're struggling with a few things. They're struggling with their team, they're struggling with their time, and they're just finding things a little bit of a challenge. So let's take this and let's go 45. This part here is all the part where they've learned, where they've been dependent and they've learned to be independent, and then they're really struggling now because they've got to be interdependent, which is a really difficult situation for a lot of people who have been very independent in businesses. So what's that do? Well, 95 years gives us 4,940 weeks, and that's how many weeks you're going to live. And when they say, oh, I'm 45, so okay, that's 2,340 weeks that you've lived. Fantastic. And it's been great, and you've made the best of it. But now we're looking at this part here. What do we do with this? And how do we manage this on the way home? Well, other question that we ask them is, at what stage in your family's life do people sit back and start chilling and start watching the world go by and not terribly active? And a lot of people, unless they're into cruising, they go, 80. Okay, so we'll go to 80. And we snip it off at 80. There we go. There's 15 years that you're going to be sitting back and watching the world go by. And I hope you don't find this too depressing, but most of us are reasonably active still at that age, but we're not running around and climbing mountains and walking down valleys and all those sorts of things. So that is 780 weeks. So, well, what do you reckon? So the next question that we ask is, when are you going to cease full-time employment? And this is full-time active employment. Now, a lot of people, I know I'm semi-retired. I do this because I love it. But you're also out there and you're saying, okay, so now that you're semi-retired, you stopped full-time work. When are you going to do that? Well, typically a lot of people come in and they say, well, I'd like to do that at 60, right? Because they've come in at 45 and they're saying, okay, I'll do that at 60. So we snip, right? And there's the bit now, 60, 80, right? 20 years, 1,040 weeks. You're going, okay, so what do we do? Well, here we are, right? We've got 15 years to get our act together, get everything sorted out, so that we can live this as a really good life, and we can also rattle along. And after this bit finishes, we can spend 1,820 weeks in relative comfort. So that's what we do. And at Business Clarity, we help people get the most out of this 780 weeks. So if you want to talk about that, give us a call, and look forward to having a chat with you. Until then, keep well and look after each other and look after your families.